Hi everyone, this is Sabrina from Scrappin with Sabrina, and today I'm going to show you how I made this fall pumpkin decoration. The paper that I used is from a paper pack that is close to my heart, and it's called Twitter Pated, and it's got some great fall patterns and colors. And then I also use paper tray ink, a stamp set, and dies. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to want to do is cut 18 strips of paper, 1.5 inches wide by 10 inches long, and then I punched holes on each end, about 1/2 inch from the edge. On one end I inserted a brad, and on the other end we have it open. So now what we're going to do is separate the paper out. For my paper I ended up using 3 different kinds of pattern paper and 3 different colors of cardstock. So I have 3 strips of each of the papers. 6 times 3 is 18, so that's how I came up with the quantity. And I alternated between pattern paper, solid, pattern paper, solid, pattern paper, and solid, just to give it a good variety. So now what we're going to do is make 4 sections. We're going to flip over to what you would consider the wrong side. There's pattern on both sides, but I'm using the more colorful side. So this is technically considered the back side. And then we're going to start taking one piece at a time to make our pumpkin. I have a brad, another brad, so I'm just going to start inserting each piece one at a time. And we're going to start forming our pumpkin. So you're going to go, I'm going clockwise, I guess it doesn't really matter which way you go, but you want to be consistent. And you want the patterned, you want your paper to overlap each strip as you go. And you don't have to be too precise with it because you do want it to have kind of a variety look to it. And sometimes if you can't reach over to the hole that you made, I kind of swing it around. And actually, I think I'm going to swing this one around to break up the solid colors. So you just want to play around with it a little bit. It gets a little tricky holding it, but you can move the paper around. Here is my last strip. Okay, so there we go. We've got it put together. Now I'm just going to open up the brad. To secure those pieces all together, and then you can flip it over. And you can see which side you prefer. Sometimes, you know, you prefer it depending how the paper's laying. If you want it, the other brad down, that's fine. And then you kind of want to just push down a little bit to get the paper bent a bit. So I think I might like this side. Then what you can do is kind of move your paper around. It's going to be overlapping a bit, and it helps to also kind of smush it down a bit. And you can kind of move it around until you get it to where you like it. And you'll see, you know, I've got 2 pattern papers next to each other, but that's okay. Each one is unique, and I actually like how it looks. If you don't like it, you can take it apart, and you can go ahead and, you know, rearrange your paper until you get it into more of the patterned that you like. On my original one, I did emboss the cardstock, but I didn't do it on this one because I'm actually going to emboss the stem and try something a little different, okay? So now we're going to go on to the next thing. So the next step in the process is to make a stem. And what I did is I pulled out my gypsy And I use the Stretch Your Imagination cartridge, and I use the layer feature on the pumpkin. And if I just blow that up, there it is, okay? So what I did on my mat is I hid the stem part just to have the stem and the leaf with a little curly Q, and cut 4 of them out in green and 2 out in brown. And this paper is a little different, but the colors are similar. This is Stampin' Up! Certainly Celery, and this is American Crafts, kind of a darker brown, because I didn't have enough from my paper pack, but it works fine. It matches up. So the stem size, it sounds like it's really, really big, but because it's in proportion with the pumpkin, my size is 6.92 in width and 10.99 in height. So if you wanted to round up, you could do 7 width, 11 height, and it seems to come out in a good proportion for the size of the pumpkin that we're doing. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is do some wet embossing, and I'm using another Close to My Heart stamp set, and it's called Cherished Flourishes. And as you'll see, I've used this one quite a bit. I've had it. I used a red dye ink, and it really dyed it, which I was kind of bummed out about at the beginning, but it does not affect the stamp at all. It's just colored. So that's just the way it goes sometimes using certain kinds of inks. But today we're going to use Versamark Dazzle, so it has a little bit of shimmer, and I have 2 smaller flourishes that we're going to use. So I'm going to just stamp the Dazzle randomly on the stem, and I do have 2 stems, 2 in the brown. This one's going to go in the back, so I'm not too worried about making that one as pretty. So now we are going to use some Stampendist Age Copper embossing enamel, and I'm going to bring over my tray, shake it up, pour this on, and let's be generous with it because I can just scoop it all back up in the tray. Flip it over and give it a few good flicks to get the excess embossing powder off. And that looks good. Actually, I think I am going to add one more flourish right there. That looked a little empty to me. There we go. There we go. I'm happy with that now. Okay, so I am going to heat this up, and I'll be right back.